Hey everybody, welcome back. So today I've chosen to get more specific and a lot more personal on my channel about my experience with spiritual warfare. I've shared bits and pieces of my experience here and there on my channel, kind of sprinkled throughout different videos where my experience applied to a specific message, but I've chosen to start chronicling the experience not only to help myself see how far I've come, but also to benefit others, because my goal in creating this channel was really to create a community that benefits and is able to become equipped through our shared experiences with spiritual warfare, and ultimately to help guide everyone on how to triumph through it. And even though you'll all be victorious in this battle no matter what, it's nice to have someone share their experience and help mentor you to the finish line. So let's get started with the basics, the who, what, where, and why of my personal spiritual warfare story. So in my case, I have two specific family members, but one main one who spear leads the attacks. Both women who pay spiritualists to conduct witchcraft against me and against multiple other members of my family who are completely unaware of it, because these other members of my family who are also being afflicted and attacked are not spiritually insightful whatsoever. They lack even basic intuition. They're not religious or into spirituality. They just lack that insight and intuition to really pick up on what's going on. They don't connect the dots. They're just more analytical people with respect to like empirical data, scientific evidence. They don't read between the lines, so to speak. So I was always more of that type of person to figure out, to kind of read between the lines in my family. There are also older and extended family members who are aware of the wickedness that's been orchestrated throughout this family tree. But for one, I don't think that these extended family members and family friends and members of the community, I don't think they realize how much they've been impacted by spiritual warfare due to their own wickedness. The difference between good people who experience spiritual warfare versus bad people who experience spiritual warfare is that good people will only become strengthened through spiritual warfare. And while spiritual warfare will strengthen the good, it will break the bad. That's how spiritual warfare serves to separate the wheat from the tares. The good people who experience spiritual warfare, who are attacked and afflicted by spiritual warfare, will not only become strengthened by spiritual warfare as a result, but the good and chosen ones of God who experience the affliction of spiritual warfare will leave elevated, promoted, exalted, and blessed, while the wicked will not recoup their losses. Watching other people is also why I realized how incredibly important and so serious it is to only partner with your divine spouse and not to settle, because I've seen good people who clearly did not partner with the one God chose for them, and as a result their partnership drastically stunted their blessings, and in some cases their relationships even caused them warfare. So when God tries to separate you from someone, you really ought to do it. But back to the who, what, why, and how. So there are two total, but one particular main lead woman in my family who I only realized in the past year had access to demonic spiritualists and was paying them to conduct witchcraft against me and against a few other members of my family. I already knew I was experiencing spiritual warfare over the past few years because of how heightened the situation was, but I thought I was going through the book of Job. It did not occur to me that there was someone on earth that I knew who was targeting me through the use of witchcraft, voodoo, black magic, spell work, whatever you want to call it, and that this person was paying a demonic spiritualist who practices black magic to do spell work against me and create strongholds against my finances, my health, my housing, and all my relationships. Platonic relationships, familial relationships, professional relationships. We'll have to get into all that in part 2 or part 3, because this is going to be a lot. There's going to be at least 4 parts to this. But the reason it never occurred to me that there was someone that I knew who was orchestrating the witchcraft against me was because I don't have any enemies. Not because I'm Little Miss Perfect, but because I barely talk to anyone. I love to be alone. You have to understand, I grew up in a household of 7 people. I never had my own room. I couldn't even get into the bathroom without waiting in line. I couldn't find a quiet place in the house to just sit in peace without someone complaining about how they want this or that. If I wanted to watch TV, I had to compete for the remote. So as an adult, I love I mean, I'm telling you, I bask in solitude. I had a very select handful of 2 or 3 people I considered friends, but other than that, I was a happy loner. I love to watch TV by myself. I love to go to the movies by myself because if I invite people to go to the movies with me, first they're going to want to change the time, then they want to change the theater location, then they want to change the whole movie. No. No, 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 no. When I'm by myself, I can do exactly what I want to do, go exactly where I want to go, watch what I want to watch, when I want to watch it. When people asked me to host them or to lend them money or to do them favors, I was a yes person. And because I live in New York, I've been asked several times to host friends and family members, and I have always said yes. I've said yes to hosting people, giving tours of the city, I've lent people rent money. I'm a yes person. I've said yes to everyone who's ever asked me. All but one. Because they didn't ask me, they told me, they showed me that they booked a one-way flight to me and that they were going to stay for 3.5 weeks. But above all that, this is a person who's never been supportive of me throughout my life, who's actually been against me, and really shouldn't have asked me to begin with, let alone try to tell me and show me a pre-booked itinerary to try to make me think I couldn't say no because they already booked the flight when I didn't tell them to book a flight. And this was exactly the type of family drama and manipulation I moved clear across the country to get away from. But even that was all years and years ago by this point, and I believe she had travel insurance, and she wasn't even the one doing witchcraft at all. In fact, she's one of the ones who's also being targeted in witchcraft by the same person as me, but is being afflicted way worse, which I think might be because she's not a believer and may not be calling for the same protection. I'm telling you all to pray for protection. It makes such a difference. But my point is, I was a homebody and a loner. Like I said, I went to the movies by myself. I went to restaurants by myself. I even went on vacation by myself. I flew to Barbados. I flew to Antigua. I flew to the Bahamas. I couldn't think of anyone that would go to the lengths of spending their resources, time, money, or energy to come for me with witchcraft. Because people I don't like, I don't talk to or engage with at this point in my life. So I couldn't even think of anyone if you asked me. Which is why it never occurred to me that someone was conducting witchcraft against me, because I don't even talk to people I don't like. I barely talk to the people I do like. I lived alone in my own 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Manhattan, and I'd moved across the country over 10 years ago and was far away from my family, who I hadn't spoken to in over 5 years. I didn't owe anybody any money. At this particular time, I literally hadn't been in touch with anyone from my hometown in literally over 5 years. I decided they just weren't my vibe, and I found my peace in solitude. I didn't have any beef with anybody. I just like being off the grid, and moving away is the best way to stay out of family drama. Or so I thought. So when the spiritual warfare started going down, I ended up having to move back home for 8 months. And that's when God started showing me everything. I'm talking about everything and everybody.